Welcome to Jesus Christ Prison Ministry and another video Bible study. Our topic, Matthew, a sinking ship, part 2. The Titanic was a beautiful ship. It was luxurious on the inside. The service was world class. The owners and builders believed it to be unsinkable. How often the claim was made, not even God could sink her. But he did. Our churches are no different. They are beautiful on the outside, luxurious on the inside. They offer great service and entertainment. The leaders of our churches think they are unsinkable because they are of God. But they are sinking. As the Titanic was filling with water, the leaders made the decision to keep the condition of the ship a secret from the passengers. There were not enough lifeboats to go around. They were hoping for a miracle to save them. But in the interim, they did not want the passengers panicking. Our churches are doing the very same thing today. The churches today are filling with worldly opinions. The leaders can see the ship sinking, but they do not want the members to know. God is not in the churches today. Church members must get out. It is life and death. The seed that fell among the thorn bushes are also people who hear the message, but they start worrying about the needs of this life and are fooled by the desires to get rich. So the message gets choked out and they never produce anything. How wealthy our churches are. However, most of the churches do nothing for Jesus. They are more interested in sitting smugly for a couple hours, patting themselves on their backs, claiming to be the remnant, the people of God. They will sit there fighting among themselves as to what to eat, drink, or wear while discussing the latest in conspiracy theories and gossiping about church leaders. How deceived. All seeds sitting in church have withered, dried up, and are not producing fruit. The Titanic is sinking, and they are oblivious to it. Church members are so involved in this world. Many are involved subconsciously. They think they are not of the world because they go to church. But their actions and thinking show themselves to be totally absorbed in the world. The world is sinking their eternal life. The seeds that fell on good ground are the people who hear and understand the message. They produce as much as 100 or 60 or 30 times what was planted. Those who have good seed in their hearts are not sitting in church. They are out, as Jesus was, working the fields that are white and ready for harvesting. They are in the gutters, helping those who have stumbled in to stand up and clean up in Jesus. They are looking into prisons to see who has fallen in. They are so busy working for Jesus, producing fruit, they have no idea what the inside of a church looks like. While the big ship is sinking, they are rowing off in their lifeboats, picking up those who have jumped ship and taking them to Jesus. Have you produced 100 or 60 or 30 times more fruit? Can you point to one person you personally have brought to Jesus, not a church, who is now living as Jesus commands? Are you living as Jesus commands? Jesus then told them this story. The kingdom of heaven is like what happened when a farmer scattered good seed in the field, but while everyone was sleeping, an enemy came and scattered weed seeds in the field and then left. When the plants came up and began to ripen, the farmer's servants could see the weeds. The servants came and asked, "Sir, didn't you scatter good seed in your field? Where did these weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," he replied. His servants then asked, "Do you want us to go out and pull up the weeds?" "Oh, no," he answered. "You might also pull up the wheat. Leave the weeds alone until harvest time. Then I'll tell my workers to gather the weeds and tie them up and burn them. But I'll have them store the wheat in my barn." Throughout the history of this sinful world, while God has been scattering good seed in the field of the world, the devil keeps scattering bad seed among the good. The devil is not scattering weeds among the weed seeds. They are already weeds and will be destroyed. No, he is scattering his weed seeds among the places God is scattering his wheat seeds. Now, that is why our churches are so dangerous. They have been advertised as safe zones for Christians, while the devil is sowing wild seeds of weed among them. The weed seeds are accepted as good seed, and lives are destroyed that would have been saved. Why? Because the people in church are sound asleep. Remember, the weed seeds were sown while everyone was sleeping. If they had been awake, they would have stopped the sowing of the weed seed. They are not warning people of the bad seed that is being preached among them, such as saved by grace, unconditional love of God, can't stop sinning, and other weed seeds are being scattered about our churches. Get out. Don't let a weed seed fall on or around you. When the weed seed begins to sprout and becomes a big weed, the good church members, of course, want to pull them out. When the weed gets too weedy, the good church people can't stand them. Fingers get pointed and tongues begin to wag and people divide into cliques and gangs. The devil loves this. While the good church people are acting like the devil in all of this, good plants are being pulled up and left to die. Do all you can to prevent the sowing of the weed seeds. If you sit in a church, do everything you can to prevent the satanic teachings of saved by grace, unconditional love of God, and we can't stop sinning. But once it is sown, we must leave the pulling up of weeds to Jesus. All we need to do is love, sow good seed, cultivate the good, and live as Jesus lived. In our own lives, we are to pull up any weed that may sprout. But in the lives of others, leave it alone. Clear your own garden of weeds, and others will see your wonderful garden and want to imitate it. If you can't stop the weed seeds from being sown, you need to get out and take everyone you can with you. I can guarantee that if you attempt to stop the weed seeds from being sown, you will be cast out of your church just as Jesus was. Don't you want to be like Jesus? Another point. The weeds will be gathered at the end of time and burned. There is no separate harvest of the good seed and the bad seed. Both are harvested together at the end of time, so that the good wheat is gathered to God and the weeds are burned. There is no separate secret rapture of the righteous taking place first, and then at a later time another reaping of the weeds. The weeds are actually pulled up first in the parable, and then the wheat will be free to be gathered up for heaven. Jesus told them another story. The kingdom of heaven is like what happens when a farmer plants a mustard seed in a field. Although it is the smallest of all seeds, it grows larger than any garden plant and becomes a tree. Birds even come and nest in its branches. You see, if you are out busy pulling up weeds, you might just pull up a mustard plant. Then where would all the birds go to nest? Where would all the animals find cool shade? if you stop pulling up weeds in others, you could stand up straight and stretch out your arms in love and become a noble tree of refuge for people. No, leave the pulling up to Jesus and you just water every seed with love. You never know which will become what over time. God has a way of turning weeds into trees. No matter how small the seed is, such as a little book called Change Your Life Biblically, if you will sow it, in time it will produce a large tree that will produce much fruit, shade, and rest. What a blessing you could be. Get up out of your church and start sowing. Pull the weeds out of your own life and water the good seeds. Each one of you who are reading this could be a mighty farmer for Jesus. Request a case of books and begin sowing beside all rivers, roads, and byways. Let God do the weeding. You just keep up the sowing. Get up now, walk out of your church, stop wasting time there, and begin sowing good seed. Think how much more a farmer could sow and produce on his farm if he wasn't sitting in church. Jesus also said, "The kingdom of heaven is like what happens when a woman mixes a little yeast into 3 big batches of flour. Finally, all the dough rises." What kind of yeast are ye? Are you a Christian yeast or a rotten yeast? Do you help people rise to God or fall to church? Does your yeast produce beautiful loaves of Christians or sourdough? Jesus used stories when he spoke to the people. In fact, he did not tell them anything without using stories. So God's promise came true just as the prophet had said, "I will use stories to speak my message and to explain things that have been hidden since the creation of the world." Stories have a way of captivating the mind and the imagination. God created us with an imagination in order for us to better understand a God we cannot see or fathom. Stories help us to internalize what is told in order for us to see it. What can you do to take the truths of the Bible and turn them into stories for those around you? The Spirit of God will work with you as you begin working for Him, as you give your life to Jesus to become a farmer for Him. He will teach you how to hoe, cultivate, and sow. Not many farmers need to be taught how to sit and look at the field. That is what the book Change Your Life Biblically is all about. Teaching you how to become a good farmer for Jesus. After Jesus left the crowd and went inside, his disciples came to him and said, "Explain to us the story about the weeds in the wheat field." Jesus answered, "The one who scattered the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seeds are the people who belong to the kingdom. The weed seeds are those who belong to the evil one, and the one who scattered them is the devil." We are to be the good seed of Jesus. We are to let Jesus scatter us around the world in order to produce fruit for others to see and desire. Of course, if you are producing rotten fruit that no one wants, then you are not working for Jesus. It might be best for you to sit in church, out of public view. If you are seed that is sitting in church, you are not being scattered and therefore are useless to Jesus. Seed sitting in the seed bag is good for nothing. So get up, climb out of the seed bag, and let God take you and scatter you around your neighborhood with stories that will lighten up the imaginations for Jesus. The devil will love to keep God's seed bag closed up. Don't let him. Get out. Go find the rotten seed the devil is scattering and turn it into good seed. The harvest is the end of time, and angels are the ones who bring in the harvest. Weeds are gathered and burned. That's how it will be at the end of time. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather from his kingdom everyone who does wrong or causes others to sin. Then he will throw them into a flaming furnace, where people will cry and grit their teeth in pain. But everyone who has done right will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom. If you have ears, pay attention. We read it, we hear it, but we don't understand it. We truly do refuse to understand. We love our safe and peaceful churches. We don't want to rock the boat. After all, down deep inside, we truly do realize that the boat is sinking. But we have been so conditioned to just ride along, we refuse to acknowledge the fact that we are the walking dead. Everyone who does wrong or causes others to sin will be destroyed. Do you do wrong? Do you sin? If you are sitting in church, you are giving a bad example of Christianity and causing others to sin. You will be destroyed. Only those who live as Jesus commands, perfect, sinless, and commandment-keeping, will shine like the sun in the Father's kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is like what happens when someone finds treasure hidden in a field and buries it again. A person like that is happy and goes and sells everything in order to buy that field. We sit in our churches claiming to love God and that the world means nothing to us. What a lie. We spend every waking moment of our lives thinking about this world, how to make money, how to spend it, what to eat, what to drink, and what to wear. Have you sold everything for the kingdom of God? How much time each day do you spend with Jesus in his word? What hypocrisy. We have been infiltrated by the Catholic Church, which has taught us saved by grace, unconditional love of God, and go to church. We are taught to just believe, do a few church things, and you are saved because Jesus loves you. My, what a peaceful and safety message for those who don't want to get their fingernails dirty for Jesus. The book, Change Your Life Biblically, is a treasure from God. Who is willing to sell everything to get cases of books and share them? What is the condition in the world today? Is not faith in the Bible as effectually destroyed by higher criticism and speculation of today as it was by tradition and rabbinism in the days of Christ? Have not greed and ambition and love of pleasure as strong a hold on men's hearts now as they had then? In the professedly Christian world, even in the professed churches of Christ, how few are governed by Christian principles. In business, social, domestic, even religious circles, how few make the teachings of Christ the rule of daily living. Is it not true that justice standeth afar off, equity cannot enter, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey? The kingdom of heaven is like what happens when a shop owner is looking for fine pearls. After finding a very valuable one, the owner goes and sells everything in order to buy that pearl. Over and over again, the Lord is trying to press home the fact that Jesus is the pearl of great price and the treasure in the field. For some reason, we sit in church thinking we have found Jesus. If you are sitting in church, you haven't found the pearl of great price or the treasure. After you had bought it, would you hide it? Would you not show it to every one of your friends? Maybe like you, they don't care about it. They have their own toys to play with and to show off. The value of the treasure is simply not understood because our churches have watered it down and buried it under human ceremonies, customs, traditions, and philosophies. We show off our worldly treasures and hide our heavenly treasures under our clay church pots. We just refuse to listen to Jesus anymore. It is all about church. All your worldly treasures will be burned up. Get out of your sinking church and get into the lifeboat Jesus has. He is calling you right now to make that decision. Please wait no longer. Thank you for joining me and Jesus Christ for another video Bible study.